Hello everyone and welcome again to another of our weekly sessions in English here at the Prado Museum with the American Friends of the Prado Museum. We are a nonprofit organization and videos are really only possible with the support of our members. So if you're interested in becoming a member or finding out more about what we do, then please do find us on our website. Today we are in room 75, which is full of some of the largest paintings in the museum. And this is because this is full of 19th century history paintings. In the 19th century, painters were eager to win competitive national fine arts exhibitions, and they really knew how to get the judges' attention. They really knew how to impress an audience with size, with emotional impact, and with a bit of national history. And so that is why we're going to be seeing today Manuel Domínguez Sánchez's painting of the story of Seneca's suicide. Manuel Domínguez Sánchez painted this and submitted it to the National Fine Arts Exhibition in 1871, where he won first prize. So who is Seneca and what's happening here? Well, Seneca, and this is Seneca the Younger, to be distinguished from his father, Seneca the Elder, was a philosopher, and he was a proponent of Stoicism, and especially interested in morality. He was the main advisor to the Emperor Nero. Nero was the emperor of Rome during the 1st century AD, and when he first came to power, he was still very young and he was guided in large part by his mother, Agrippina. As time went on, tensions rose between Nero and Agrippina, and he actually ordered his mother to be executed. Nero was also involved in the murder of his stepbrother, so it's understandable why Nero today is infamous for his bloody and tyrannical reign. So when a group of elites conspired against him, plotting his assassination, Nero had no trouble in executing anyone that he thought was involved in that plan, and Seneca, his advisor, was one of the accused. Now, when Seneca received his sentence, which ordered him to take his own life, he was at his villa with his wife and his friends. The Roman historian Tacitus writes an account of Seneca's death, and he says that Seneca he spoke to his friends that were there, his companions, and he said, "Who knew not Nero's cruelty? Who would be surprised at this? After the murder of a mother and a brother, what would be left except to destroy a guardian and a tutor?" After initially defending his innocence, he bravely accepted his fate. And we can see his companions' different reactions. The young man here looks on and brings his fist to his chest, maybe showing his allegiance to his master, maybe swearing vengeance. The others look calmer and maybe are trying to reconcile their grief with the wisdom of their philosophical principles taught by Seneca. So Seneca first cut his veins to bleed to death, but the process was taking too long and he was suffering a lot. So he decided to take poison to speed up the process, which put him in a lot of pain and still didn't bring him to die. And so, according to Tacitus, actually, Seneca's wife was also said to have decided to accompany her husband in death. And she cut her veins as well, although she did survive because Nero sent his guards and told them to tend to her wounds. Ultimately, Seneca had his friends draw a bath, and this is the scene that Manuel Domínguez Sánchez has depicted here. It's a thrilling story. It's full of drama, with vengeance, of suffering, of glory, of courage, and also a bit of national history because Seneca was from Cordoba. So here we have all of the ingredients, the perfect recipe for a successful 19th century history painting. And it was a great success. And like I said, this won first place in the National Exhibit of Fine Arts in 1871, although it wasn't entirely without criticism. Some people say that Seneca actually doesn't really look like the image that we know of Seneca. Others criticize the lack of expression in the companions, saying that they were cold and unaffected by the scene. But this figure here in the foreground, which is really beautifully rendered, received a lot of praise for its mastery of foreshortening. And it's very emotive. One critic even said that without even showing the man's face, we completely understand the depth of his pain. In the beginning of his career, Manuel Domínguez followed closely the ideas and the academic style of Federico de Madrazo. But here, a few years older, just a few years later, the artist has really embraced the realism of Eduardo Rosales and his interest in antiquity. There's a lot of care given to the recreation of this classical setting. And the artist places us, the spectator, near ground level, where we can really imagine the feel of the cold, polished floor. And we are immediately confronted with this horrible image of the elderly man lying limp and lifeless in the bath. The composition is ordered with the repetition of horizontal and vertical lines. We can see the horizontal lines in the columns, and also echoed in the standing figures, as well as in the vase in the foreground. And then in the and then the horizontal lines that run across the wall, in the frieze, also in the rim of the bath, and then even in the horizontality of the canvas itself. The light pours in from above, which really brings our attention to this central scene. It is intense, it's emotional, and it really is a must-see in room 75. So thank you for joining us for another of our weekly sessions in English. And again, remember that if you're thinking about maybe finding out more about what the American Friends do, or how you might get involved no matter where you live in the world, you can find us on our website. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you again next Wednesday.